The message came at 14:32 Greenwich Mean Time on a Tuesday that would change everything. Admiral Sarah Chen was drinking her third cup of coffee when the quantum relay station on Luna began screaming alerts across every screen in the command center. "Admiral, we're getting something on the Deep Space Channel," Lieutenant Rodriguez called out, his voice tight with confusion. It's not from any human source." Sarah set down her coffee cup. In her 23 years of military service, she had never heard those words. The Deep Space Quantum Relay Network was humanity's most advanced communication system, capable of near-instantaneous contact across light years. Only humans were supposed to know how to use it. "Put it on the main screen," she ordered. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a three-dimensional image that made everyone in the room step back. The creature speaking was tall and thin, with skin that shifted between silver and blue. Its eyes were completely black, and when it spoke, the words came through perfect universal translation software that humanity didn't even know existed. "To the dominant species of the third planet from the star you call Sol," the alien began, its voice carrying an authority that had commanded galaxies. "I am High Arbiter HFY of the Hegemony Council. You will listen carefully, as this message will be sent only once." Sarah felt her blood turn cold. Around the command center, officers stopped what they were doing and stared at the impossible sight of humanity's first contact with alien life. The alien continued without emotion. "Your species has reached a level of development that requires integration into the hegemony. This is not a negotiation. This is not a choice. This is a statement of fact that has been delivered to 3,417 species before you." The display changed, showing images that made Sarah's stomach clench. Massive ships that looked more like living creatures than machines floated through space. Planets burned under weapons that turned matter itself against the world it came from. Cities of crystal and metal crumbled as their inhabitants fled in terror. "The hegemony has existed for 12 million of your years," HFY said. "We have brought order to chaos, civilization to barbarism, and peace to war across this galaxy. Your species will submit to our authority, dismantle all military forces, and accept classification as a client species under hegemony protection." Sarah's hands clenched into fists. Client species. The words tasted like poison in her mind. "You have 72 of your hours to signal your complete surrender," the alien continued. "Transmit your acceptance on this same frequency. Any delay will be considered an act of hostility. Any resistance will be met with total elimination, as was demonstrated with the Vexhai." The screen showed a planet that had once been blue and green like Earth. Now it was a ball of glass, perfectly smooth, reflecting starlight like a marble. Sarah could see the shapes of continents beneath the surface, frozen forever in crystal. "Their crime was refusing our generous offer of integration," HFY explained without any trace of regret. "They believed their crystalline technology made them superior to the hegemony. They were wrong. Do not make their mistake." The message ended with coordinates showing massive ships already moving toward the outer edge of the solar system. According to the data, they would arrive in exactly 72 hours. Silence filled the Luna Command Center for exactly 10 seconds. Then every communication device in the room began ringing at once as news of the transmission spread across Earth's military networks. "Sir," Lieutenant Rodriguez said, his voice barely steady, "Earth Command is requesting immediate contact. So is the United Nations, and the Mars colonies, and the Belt Mining Consortium, and—" He stopped, overwhelmed by the flood of incoming calls. Sarah held up one hand for silence. Her mind was racing through protocols that had been written for a day everyone hoped would never come. First contact with hostile aliens, complete technological superiority on the enemy's side, an ultimatum with no room for negotiation. "Rodriguez, send a priority alpha message to all commands," she said, surprised by how calm her own voice sounded. "Tell them to implement protocol blackout immediately. No questions, no delays. Full implementation within the hour." "Ma'am, are you sure? Protocol blackout means—" "I know what it means," Sarah interrupted. She walked to her personal communication terminal and entered a code she had memorized 15 years ago but never thought she would use. Her fingers moved automatically across the quantum-encrypted keyboard, sending a message that would reach every human military installation from the asteroid belt to the moons of Saturn. The message was simple. "The day we prepared for has come. Execute a blackout protocol. Show them nothing. Trust the plan. Humanity endures." Around the solar system, the response was immediate. On Earth, every military base went dark. Communication satellites stopped transmitting. The massive space elevators that connected Earth to its orbital stations powered down their lights. Mars colonies turned off their beacon signals. Mining ships in the asteroid belt shut down their engines and drifted like dead metal. To any outside observer, it would look like humanity was panicking, like their civilization was collapsing under the weight of the alien ultimatum. Ships would appear to be fleeing randomly. Communications would seem to be failing. Military forces would look scattered and disorganized. But Sarah knew better. She had helped write Protocol Blackout during her early years as the intelligence officer, back when deep space monitoring stations first detected the systematic destruction of civilizations in nearby star systems. The protocol wasn't about panic. It was about preparation. Dr. James Okafor appeared on her personal screen, calling from his hidden laboratory in the Kuiper Belt. The man who had designed humanity's response to this exact situation looked tired, but determined. "Sarah, the message went out to all sites," he said. "Activation is proceeding on schedule. The foundries are powering up, the shipyards are dropping their camouflage, and our assets are moving into position." "How long do we have?" Sarah asked. 72 hours until they expect our surrender," James replied. "But our scouts show their advance forces will be in position to attack in 60 hours. "They're not taking any chances," Sarah nodded. "The aliens thought they were dealing with another primitive species that would crumble under pressure. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. Every mining operation in the outer system had been designed with dual purposes. Every commercial space station had hidden weapons. Every seemingly random asteroid had been hollowed out and converted into something the aliens wouldn't see coming." "James, are we really ready for this?" Sarah asked quietly. The scientist was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of humanity's future. "Sarah, they've conquered 3,000 worlds using the same formula. Overwhelming force, a surrender deadline, and the promise of mercy for those who submit immediately. It's worked every time because every species they've faced has been alone." He paused, looking directly into the camera. "But they've never faced humans. They've never faced a species that spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of war against itself. They expect us to kneel." Sarah felt a cold smile cross her face. "What are we going to give them instead?" "We're going to give them the Black Armada," James said. "And we're going to teach them that some species don't kneel. Some species fight." The communication ended, leaving Sarah alone with the weight of command and the knowledge that humanity's greatest test was about to begin. Outside the windows of Luna Command, Earth hung in space like a blue jewel, peaceful and beautiful. In 60 hours, that peace would end forever. Captain Thexmol of the Hegemony scout ship. Inevitable Truth watched the human homeworld through his ship's advanced sensors and felt satisfaction flow through his gill slits. The primitive planet below was reacting exactly as expected. "Report," he commanded his sensor operator. A young HFY whose scale still showed the bright colors of inexperience. "The electromagnetic signature from the third planet has decreased by 78%, the operator reported. "Their communication networks appear to be failing. We're detecting scattered transmissions that suggest widespread panic among the population centers." Thexmol's tentacles curled in amusement. 3,000 worlds, and they all responded the same way. First came disbelief, then panic, then the desperate scrambling of a species realizing they were completely outmatched. The humans were following the pattern perfectly. "Any sign of military organization?" he asked. "Negative, Captain. Their orbital installations have gone dark. We're tracking multiple ships fleeing toward the outer system, but their movements appear random and uncoordinated. Standard retreat behavior from a species in collapse." Through the viewport, Thexmol could see the first elements of the Hegemony fleet approaching the edge of the human star system. 12 bioships, each one grown rather than built, their living hulls pulsing with the soft light of contained power. The smallest of them was larger than anything the humans had ever constructed. What Thexmol couldn't see were the 17 mining vessels that had been drifting dead in space for the past 6 months, their crews in hibernation, their hulls covered in electromagnetic damping material that made them invisible to Hegemony sensors. As the alien scout ships took their positions, human eyes watched from inside those hollow asteroids, recording every detail of Hegemony technology and tactics. Deep in the Kuiper Belt, Dr. James Okafor stood in what looked like a standard research station, studying ice formation on distant comets. The facility's public records showed it as a small scientific outpost with a crew of 12. The reality was different. "Bring the foundries online," James ordered. The asteroid around him shuddered as massive machinery came to life for the first time. What had appeared to be a natural chunk of ice and rock was actually a hollowed-out shell containing one of the most advanced manufacturing facilities humanity had ever built. Similar installations throughout the outer system began their activation sequences, dropping their camouflage and revealing their true nature. The Darwin station had supposedly been studying Jupiter's moons for the past 8 years. Dr. Elena Vasquez had published dozens of papers on atmospheric composition and magnetic field interactions. What she hadn't published was that the station's real purpose was testing weapons designed specifically to fight in space. "All systems show green," she reported to James over a quantum encrypted channel. "The mass drivers are ready and the particle beam arrays are fully charged. The hegemony ships don't know we exist." "Confirmed, Elena. Hold position until the signal." Similar reports came in from across the solar system. The Hermes Mining Consortium had been extracting rare metals from the asteroid belt for 15 years. Now their mining ships revealed hidden armor plating and weapon systems that had been disguised as ore processing equipment. The New Horizons research platform stopped studying cosmic radiation and began charging the most powerful directed energy weapon ever created by human hands. Commander Alex Petrov floated in zero gravity aboard what the official records listed as a cargo transport named Peaceful Journey. The ship had been hauling supplies between Earth and Mars for 3 years, making regular runs that established it as a harmless civilian vessel. The hegemony scouts had classified it as a non-threat commercial unit and ignored it completely. They had no idea that hidden beneath the cargo bays was enough firepower to level a city, or that Alex's crew consisted of humanity's most experienced military pilots flying under false identities. "Sir, we're receiving activation codes," reported Lieutenant Kim Santos, who was officially listed as a cargo specialist but had actually been trained in zero-gravity combat operations. "Acknowledged. All stations prepare for revelation. This is not a drill." Back on Luna, Admiral Sarah Chen watched the hegemony forces position themselves exactly where humanity's war planners had predicted they would. The aliens were following standard protocols, taking positions that would allow them to control all major shipping lanes, while demonstrating their overwhelming power to the human population below. "Ma'am, we're getting reports from all hidden installations," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. "Everything is online and ready. The Black Armada is prepared for deployment." Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. For 30 years, humanity's best scientists, engineers, and military strategists had worked in secret to prepare for this day. They had studied every piece of intelligence gathered from deep space monitoring, analyzed the destroyed civilizations the hegemony had left behind, and designed weapons and tactics specifically for fighting an enemy with superior technology. The key insight had come from studying historical human conflicts. Time and again, technologically superior forces had been defeated by opponents who understood that technology meant nothing if you couldn't use it effectively. The hegemony had grown complacent through easy victories. They expected their mere presence to break enemy morale. They had never faced an opponent that wanted them to feel confident and superior. Captain Thexmol was reviewing his preliminary report when his sensor operator suddenly stiffened in alarm. "Captain, I'm detecting energy signatures from the outer system. Multiple sources powering up simultaneously. Probably their outer colonies trying to establish communication with the homeworld," Thexmol replied dismissively. "Continue monitoring." What the hegemony sensors detected as communication attempts were actually the first stages of the most coordinated military operation in human history. Across the solar system, hidden installations that had been disguised as research stations, mining operations, and commercial facilities began dropping their facades and revealing their true nature. The asteroid designated 2157 KT had been studied by xenogeologists for 5 years. Now it split open like a flower, revealing a shipyard containing vessels that had been constructed in absolute secrecy. The Titan Atmospheric Research Station stopped studying Saturn's moon and began launching fighter craft that had been stored in underground hangars. Dr. James Okafor smiled as he watched his life's work come to fruition. The hegemony thought they were dealing with a typical planetary species, confined to their home system, and limited by the physics of conventional space travel. They had no idea that humanity had been building in secret for decades, or that every seemingly innocent installation in their star system was actually part of a vast military network designed for one purpose: to turn the hunter into the hunted. Status: report from all stations, he requested. The responses came in from across the solar system. Hidden shipyards were launching their first wave of fighters. Weapon platforms were targeting hegemony scout ships. Most importantly, the trap was ready to spring. All stations report. Ready, James announced to Admiral Chen. The Black Armada is fully deployed and awaiting orders. Sarah looked at the tactical display showing hegemony forces, confident in their superior position, completely unaware that they were surrounded by an enemy they couldn't detect. In 12 hours, the aliens would expect humanity's surrender message. Instead, they were going to discover that some species don't surrender. Some species fight back, and some species have been preparing for war since the day they first learned they weren't alone in the universe. The 72-hour deadline passed at exactly 14:32, Greenwich Mean Time. Captain Thexamol waited on the bridge of inevitable truth, his tentacles drumming against his command chair in anticipation. The human homeworld hung before them, silent and dark. No surrender transmission had come. No plea for mercy. No desperate attempt at negotiation. Standard pattern, he announced to his fleet. They've chosen elimination over integration. Begin the approach to the inner system. We'll glass their homeworld and move on to the next sector. The 12 hegemony bioships began their advance, their living hulls pulsing with contained energy. Each vessel was a work of art, grown over centuries and guided by technology that had conquered a galaxy. Their weapons could crack planets. Their shields could deflect any known force. They moved with the confidence of beings who had never lost a battle. That confidence lasted exactly 47 minutes. The attack began from everywhere at once. What the hegemony had dismissed as dead asteroids suddenly erupted with engine fire. Space itself seemed to come alive as camouflaged human vessels dropped their stealth fields and revealed their true nature. The mining ship Prospector's Dream shed its disguise to become the heavy cruiser Retribution. The research platform Deep Space Explorer unfolded weapon arrays that had been hidden inside false scientific equipment. Commander Alex Petrov's voice cut across the tactical frequency. All units. This is Blackbird Leader. Execute Thunder Run. Show these aliens what happens when they threaten Earth. His ship, the former cargo transport Peaceful Journey, revealed its true identity as the stealth destroyer Shadowstrike, along with 17 other vessels that had been masquerading as civilian craft. Alex's squadron struck the hegemony formation from behind, their weapons charging faster than the aliens thought possible. Captain Thexamol stared at his displays in horror as his sensors registered contacts that shouldn't exist. "Where did these ships come from?" he demanded. Our scans showed no military presence. His sensor operator's scales had turned white with shock. "Captain, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. Ships are appearing from everywhere. It's like they were hiding inside the asteroids themselves. They had been. For months, human crews had lived inside hollowed-out rocks, their ships powered down and their life support systems running on minimal power. They had waited in hibernation while hegemony scouts mapped the system, invisible to sensors that looked for active ships rather than modified asteroids. The first hegemony bioship to die was the Living Harmony, struck by a coordinated strike from 6 human vessels. The aliens' energy shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, proved useless against solid projectiles accelerated to relativistic speeds. Kinetic kill vehicles, basically telephone poles made of depleted uranium and accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed, punched through the bioship's hull like bullets through paper. "Impossible," Thexmal screamed as he watched Living Harmony break apart. "Their technology is primitive. Their weapons shouldn't be able to penetrate our shields." What he didn't understand was that humans had been studying hegemony technology for decades through deep space observation. They knew exactly how alien shields worked, and they had designed their weapons specifically to defeat them. Energy shields were useless against solid matter moving fast enough, and humans had become very good at making things move very fast. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched from her hidden platform near Jupiter as the Darwin station revealed its true nature. What had appeared to be a small research facility unfolded into a weapons platform, larger than some hegemony ships. The massive particle beam cannon she had spent 8 years perfecting locked onto its target and fired. The beam struck the bioship gentle current amidships and burned completely through it. The alien vessel, designed to regenerate from normal weapon damage, simply couldn't heal fast enough to survive having a hole punched through its core systems. Target eliminated, Elena reported with satisfaction. Recharging for second shot. Across the system, the pattern repeated. Hidden human installations revealed themselves and struck with weapons the hegemony had never encountered. Mass drivers hurled chunks of metal at incredible speeds. Swarm missiles that learned from each impact adapted to alien countermeasures. Most devastating of all were the hunter-killer drones that pursued wounded hegemony ships across the system, refusing to let them escape or regroup. Captain Maria Volkov led the first wave of human fighters launched from the secret shipyards. Her squadron of 30 ships had been built specifically for this moment, designed to be fast, maneuverable, and lethal. Unlike the elegant bioships with their curved lines and bioluminescent displays, human fighters were angular, dark, and built for only one purpose: killing things in space. Target the command ship, she ordered her pilots. Cut off the head and the body dies. Her fighters swarmed inevitable truth like angry wasps, too small for the bioship's main weapons to target effectively, but large enough to carry devastating missiles. They struck the hegemony flagship from every angle, their attacks coordinated with inhuman precision. Bexmal felt his ship shudder under the impact of human weapons. Alarm screamed throughout the bridge as systems he had thought invulnerable began failing. "Damage report," he demanded. "Hull breaches on 7 decks," his damage control officer reported, terror clear in his voice. "The humans are using some kind of adaptive weapon system. Our regeneration protocols can't keep up with the damage rate. How is this possible? They're supposed to be a primitive species." What Thexmal didn't understand was that humans were primitive in some ways. They hadn't developed bioships or energy shields or faster-than-light communication. But they had developed something the hegemony had forgotten. During 12 million years of easy victories, the ability to kill efficiently. Every human weapon had been designed by beings who had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of war against their own species. They understood tactics, strategy, and most importantly, the psychology of their enemies. They had studied how the hegemony fought, identified their weaknesses, and built an entire military doctrine around exploiting those weaknesses. The bioship Eternal Peace tried to flee toward the edge of the system, its living hull damaged beyond its ability to heal. It didn't make it. Commander Sarah Kim's heavy cruiser Vengeance pursued it across 2 million kilometers, matching every evasive maneuver and slowly closing the distance. When the hegemony ship finally ran out of power, Sarah's crew boarded it and captured the survivors. "We need prisoners for intelligence," she reported to Admiral Chen, "and we need their technology." This was something else the hegemony had never encountered. Previous enemies had fought defensively, trying to protect their homeworlds until they could negotiate surrender. Humans hunted. They pursued damaged ships. They boarded enemy vessels not to rescue survivors, but to capture technology and interrogate prisoners. Admiral Sarah Chen watched the battle from Luna Command, coordinating the attack with cold precision. The tactical display showed hegemony forces scattered and demoralized, their formation broken by attacks from directions they hadn't known existed. "Status report," she requested. 7 hegemony vessels destroyed, 3 captured, 2 fleeing toward the edge of the system, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. "Our losses are minimal. The aliens can't adapt to our tactics fast enough." Sarah nodded. The hegemony had expected to fight another defensive battle against a terrified species. Instead, they were facing an enemy that had turned their own star system into a weapon. Every asteroid could hide a ship. Every piece of space debris could be a disguised weapon platform. Every seemingly innocent research station could reveal itself as a fortress. As the remaining hegemony ships fled toward the outer system, human forces pursued them with relentless efficiency. The aliens had come to Earth expecting to receive a surrender. Instead, they had learned that some species don't kneel, some species fight back, and some species have been preparing for war since the day they realized they weren't alone in the universe. The Black Armada had risen, and the hegemony's 12 million years of easy conquest had just come to an end. High Arbiter HFY stood in the central chamber of the Hegemony Council, his silver-blue skin flickering with patterns of confusion and disbelief. Around him, the representatives of 12 ancient civilizations watched the tactical displays with growing horror. "Explain to me," HFY said, his voice carrying the authority of 12 million years of conquest, "how a primitive species destroyed 8 of our bioships and captured 3 more in less than 6 hours. The Keth High military coordinator, General Vashtok, struggled to find words. "High Arbiter, their tactics are unlike anything we've encountered. They don't fight defensively, they hunt. When our ships try to retreat and regroup, human vessels pursue them across the entire system." "Pursue them how?" "Our intelligence indicated they were confined to their home system with primitive chemical rockets. That intelligence was wrong, sir. They've been building in secret for decades. Every asteroid in their system could be hiding ships. Every research station could be a weapons platform. They turned their entire star system into a fortress, and we walked right into it." HFY's black eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the remains of what had been the most powerful military force in the galaxy. "Show me how they fight." The hologram displayed the battle footage captured by the fleeing hegemony ships. HFY watched human vessels emerge from what had appeared to be dead space, their movements coordinated with machine-like precision. Unlike the graceful bioships that danced through space like living creatures, human vessels moved like predators, angular and purpose-built for killing. "They use kinetic weapons," General Vashtok explained. "Solid projectiles accelerated to relativistic speeds. Our energy shields are useless against them. And when we tried to retreat, they followed. Human ships pursued our damaged vessels across millions of kilometers. When the Eternal Peace ran out of power, they boarded it and captured the crew. Not for rescue, High Arbiter. For interrogation." HFY felt something he hadn't experienced in his 3,000-year lifespan. Fear. "What do they want with our technology?" "To learn how to kill us more efficiently, sir." Meanwhile, in the wreckage-strewn space around Earth, the Black Armada was doing exactly that. Commander Alex Petrov floated in the command center of the captured bioship Gentle Current. Watching human technicians strip away alien technology with ruthless efficiency. "Report," he ordered. Dr. Lisa Chen, the xenotechnology specialist, looked up from where she was studying a piece of hegemony equipment that still pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. "Their ships are incredible, Commander. Self-healing hulls, quantum-entangled communication systems, weapons that can crack planets. But they have a critical weakness, which is arrogance. Their entire military doctrine is based on overwhelming technological superiority. They've never had to develop real tactics because they've never faced effective resistance. Their ships are powerful, but they're predictable." Alex nodded. That predictability had been humanity's greatest advantage. The hegemony fought the same way against every enemy. Approach the system, demonstrate overwhelming force, accept surrender or destroy the planet. They had used the same tactics for 12 million years because those tactics had always worked. But humans were different. Humans had spent 10,000 years fighting other humans, beings just as intelligent and resourceful as themselves. They understood deception, misdirection, and most importantly, they understood that any enemy could be defeated if you were willing to pay the price. Captain Maria Volkov's fighter squadron was demonstrating that principle in the asteroid belt, where the last 2 hegemony bioships were trying to hide among the floating rocks. The aliens thought they could use the asteroids for cover, the same way they had hidden among gas clouds and debris fields in previous campaigns. They hadn't counted on the fact that humans had been living and working in the asteroid belt for decades. Every rock was mapped. Every gravitational current was charted. What looked like random space debris to the hegemony was actually a carefully controlled environment where humans held every advantage. "Blackbird Squadron. This is Hawk Leader," Maria announced over the tactical frequency. "Target bearing 27 Mark 8 is hiding behind asteroid designation Romeo 7. But Romeo 7 isn't natural. It's been hollowed out and converted to a weapons platform. When I mark, Romeo 7 will light up the target like a Christmas tree." The hegemony ship. Peaceful Integration thought it was safely hidden behind a large asteroid, its bioluminescent hull powered down to minimal levels. The ship's captain, HFY, was reporting to his superiors that they had found a secure position to await rescue. He was still transmitting when the asteroid suddenly blazed with weapon fire. What had appeared to be a natural chunk of rock revealed itself as another human installation, striking the bioship from point-blank range with weapons designed specifically for close-range combat. "Impossible," HFY screamed as his ship's hull began to fail. How can they be everywhere? The answer was simple. Humans had been preparing for this war for 30 years. Every mining operation had been designed with dual purposes. Every research station had hidden weapons. Every seemingly innocent piece of space infrastructure had been built to kill hegemony ships. Dr. James Okafor monitored the battle from his command center in the Kuiper Belt, coordinating the activities of installations scattered across the solar system. The tactical display showed human forces systematically hunting down the remaining hegemony ships, denying them any chance to escape or regroup. Status report from all stations, he requested. The responses came in from across the solar system. Human forces had taken control of every major shipping lane. Captured hegemony technology was being analyzed and reverse-engineered at hidden research facilities. Most importantly, the quantum communication equipment from the captured ships was being used to monitor hegemony military communications. Dr. Okafor, reported his intelligence officer, were intercepting communications from the Hegemony Council. They're sending reinforcements. 3 full battle fleets, over 100 ships. James smiled coldly. Let them come. We'll be ready. The preparation was already beginning. Human shipyards that had been disguised as mining operations were working around the clock to produce more vessels. The captured hegemony technology was being integrated into new weapon systems. Most importantly, human forces were learning to think like their enemies. Admiral Sarah Chen received the intelligence report on Luna and immediately began planning humanity's next move. The hegemony thought they were dealing with a defensive species that would try to protect their homeworld. They had no idea that humans were already planning to take the war to enemy territory. Rodriguez, prepare a transmission to all commands, she ordered. We're going to do something the hegemony has never seen before. We're going to attack them, ma'am. For 12 million years, the hegemony has fought the same war over and over. They show up, demand surrender, and either accept submission or destroy the planet. They've never had to defend their own territory because no one has ever been able to strike back. Sarah turned to look at the tactical display showing human forces scattered throughout the solar system, no longer hiding but actively hunting the remnants of the hegemony fleet. That's about to change. We're not going to wait for them to bring more ships to Earth. We're going to follow their survivors home and show them what it feels like to be hunted. The last hegemony bioship in the solar system, the Eternal Wisdom, was running for the edge of the system at maximum speed, its crew desperate to reach the jump point and escape to hegemony space. They almost made it. Commander Sarah Kim's heavy cruiser Vengeance caught them just as they reached the heliopause, the boundary between the solar system and interstellar space. Instead of simply destroying the fleeing ship, Kim's crew disabled its engines and boarded it, capturing the survivors and all their intelligence. This is Vengeance to Fleet Command, Kim reported. We have captured the ship's navigation data. We know how to reach hegemony space. The message that reached the Hegemony Council 3 days later was not what they expected. Instead of a plea for mercy or a desperate attempt at negotiation, they received something unprecedented in their 12 million years of conquest. A declaration of war. To the Hegemony Council, Admiral Sarah Chen's voice came through their own quantum communication network. Hijacked by captured alien technology, you ordered Earth to kneel. You threatened our children and our future. You believed your superior technology made you invincible. The image showed not a broken planet begging for mercy, but a military commander speaking from the bridge of a warship. You were wrong. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity fights. And now we're coming for you. The transmission ended with coordinates showing human ships already moving beyond the edge of the solar system, carrying the war to hegemony space for the first time in their civilization's history. The hunters had become the hunted. 6 months after the ultimatum that was supposed to end with humanity's surrender, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Indomitable and watched hegemony space burn. The massive human warship hung in the void above what had once been the hegemony's most important military depot, a space station the size of a small moon that had coordinated the conquest of 1,000 worlds. Now it was an expanding cloud of debris, destroyed by weapons the aliens still didn't understand. Status report, Sarah requested. Commander Alex Petrov, now promoted to her tactical coordinator, studied the holographic displays showing the positions of human forces throughout the sector. Hegemony Depot 7 is completely destroyed. Their local defense fleet has been eliminated. We've captured 3 more bioships and their crews. Most importantly, we've captured their communication arrays. Sarah nodded with satisfaction. The communication arrays were the key to everything. For the first time in 12 million years, the hegemony was learning what it felt like to have their own technology used against them. Human forces were using captured quantum communication equipment to intercept alien military transmissions, coordinate false information campaigns, and most devastatingly, broadcast messages that were shattering the hegemony's carefully maintained image of invincibility. "Show me the intelligence reports," Sarah ordered. The holographic display changed to show a map of hegemony space, with dozens of star systems marked in different colors. Red indicated systems under hegemony control. Blue showed systems where human forces were operating. But most interesting were the yellow markers, indicating something unprecedented: rebellion. Dr. James Okafor appeared on the communication screen, calling from the captured hegemony research facility he was now using as his base of operations. "Sarah, the psychological warfare campaign is working better than we hoped. 17 client species have declared independence from the hegemony in the past month. They're calling themselves the Liberation Alliance. What changed their minds? Us. For 12 million years, the hegemony told their client species that resistance was impossible, that their technology was so advanced that rebellion would only result in complete annihilation. We proved that was a lie. The truth was spreading across the galaxy faster than the hegemony could suppress it. Humanity had done the impossible. They had defeated hegemony forces using inferior technology and superior tactics. More importantly, they had carried the war to hegemony space and won. On the former hegemony world of Kethamar, a young alien named HFY looked up at the night sky where strange new stars blazed with unnatural light. The hegemony officials said they were stellar phenomena, but everyone knew the truth. Those were human ships fighting hegemony forces, and the humans were winning. Are the stories true? HFY asked her elder, an old Kethai whose scales bore the scars of hegemony pacification operations from decades past. Which stories, young one? About the Terrans, about the species that refused to kneel. The elder's gill slits fluttered with what might have been hope. I have heard that when the hegemony came to their system and demanded surrender, the humans sent warships instead. I have heard that they turned space itself into a weapon, that they hunt hegemony bioships across the galaxy like predators pursuing prey. Is it possible? Can the hegemony really be defeated? Before the elder could answer, the night sky lit up with the distinctive blue-white flash of human quantum torpedoes destroying a hegemony patrol ship in orbit. The explosion was visible across the entire continent, a message written in fire across the heavens. Resistance was not only possible, it was happening. Similar scenes were playing out across hundreds of worlds as the news of humanity's victories spread. Species that had submitted to hegemony rule decades or centuries ago were remembering what it felt like to be free. More importantly, they were learning that the supposedly invincible hegemony could be defeated. High Arbiter HFY stood in the emergency session of the Hegemony Council, his silver-blue skin now showing patterns of deep concern. Around him, the representatives of 12 ancient civilizations faced a crisis none of them had ever imagined. Their empire was collapsing, Port. From the front lines, he demanded. General Vashituk's scales had turned completely white with stress. High Arbiter, we've lost contact with Sectors 7 through 12. Human forces have destroyed our communication networks and are systematically eliminating our military installations. Worse, 17 client species have declared independence and are actively supporting human operations. How is this possible? They're a single species from one star system. Yes, sir. But they fight differently than anything we've encountered. They don't try to hold territory or protect specific locations. They strike our supply lines, destroy our communication networks, and disappear before we can respond. When we send ships to hunt them, they ambush our forces using tactics we don't understand. What the hegemony didn't understand was that humans had been preparing for asymmetric warfare for their entire existence. They knew how to fight an enemy with superior resources because they had been doing it to each other for 10,000 years. They understood that technology meant nothing if you couldn't use it effectively, and they had built their entire military doctrine around exploiting that weakness. Captain Maria Volkov demonstrated that principle perfectly as she led her squadron in an attack on the hegemony stronghold at Sigma Draconis. The alien fortress was protected by energy shields that could deflect any known weapon, and defended by bioships that outnumbered her forces 3-1. It didn't matter. Maria's ships didn't attack the fortress directly. Instead, they targeted the asteroid mining operation that supplied the base with raw materials, the communication relay that coordinated its defenses, and the fuel depot that powered its ships. Within 6 hours, the supposedly impregnable fortress was isolated, blinded, and starving. "This is Captain Volkov to Hegemony Fortress Command," she transmitted on an open channel. "You have 1 hour to surrender before we turn your pretty fortress into scrap metal. Your choice." The fortress surrendered without firing a shot. It was the first time in Hegemony history that one of their military installations had capitulated to an enemy force. The psychological impact was devastating. If a Hegemony fortress could surrender, then anything was possible. The news spread across the galaxy, carried by the same quantum communication networks the Hegemony had used to coordinate their empire. Now those networks carried a different message. Humanity was winning, and the age of Hegemony dominance was ending. Admiral Sarah Chen received the final intelligence report as human forces prepared for their most ambitious operation yet, a direct assault on the Hegemony homeworld itself. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, "we're receiving surrender offers from 47 Hegemony worlds. They're offering to switch sides and join the Liberation Alliance. And the Hegemony Council? They're in complete disarray. Half of them want to negotiate peace terms. The other half want to use planet-killer weapons against Earth." Sarah smiled coldly. "Let them try. We're not on Earth anymore, it was true." The Black Armada had evolved beyond its original defensive mission. Human shipyards, now established in captured Hegemony systems, were producing vessels that combined human tactical innovation with alien technology. The new ships were faster, more powerful, and more deadly than anything either species had built alone. More importantly, humanity was no longer fighting alone. The Liberation Alliance now included over 100 species, all united by a simple principle: the right to exist free from Hegemony control. The final battle came not as a massive fleet engagement, but as something much more devastating: a coordinated uprising across the entire Hegemony empire. Client species that had been suppressed for millions of years rose up simultaneously, supported by human weapons and tactics. The Hegemony's own size became their weakness as they found themselves fighting rebellions on 1,000 worlds at once. High Arbiter. HFY's last transmission was received on Earth 6 months later, carried by a human ship returning from the former Hegemony capital. "To the humans of Earth," the message began, the once proud alien leader now speaking from what was clearly a prison cell. "You have accomplished something we believed impossible. You have shown the galaxy that freedom is stronger than fear, that determination can overcome any technology, and that some species will never kneel." The transmission ended with a simple statement that would be remembered across the galaxy for millennia. "We surrender. Teach us how to be free." Sarah Chen read the message while standing on the observation deck of Luna Command, looking out at the same view of Earth that had watched her species receive the Hegemony's ultimatum over a year ago. The blue planet still hung in space like a jewel, but now it was the capital of a new kind of empire, one built on cooperation rather than conquest, on freedom rather than fear. "Admiral," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, "we're receiving applications for membership in the Liberation Alliance from over 300 species. They all want to learn human tactics and philosophy." Sarah nodded. The message had been sent and received across the galaxy. When the powerful demanded submission, some species knelt. Others ran. Others hid. Thank you for watching, and comment for next part.